Back in October, Max started to grow a beard. By January, it was quite full and curly, which was helpful when he arrived at the courthouse. He was thought to be just another miner in from the hills. Commissioners met only the first Monday of the month, so we had to wait until February. In the meantime, Max had found out that the mill site, which included 5 acres, and the mines up there were all on the delinquent tax roll. February came, and the commissioners meeting. Happily for us, they accepted Max's bid. We learned we'd have to wait a month, and they had to advertise our bid every week in the local Summit County Journal. No one came forward to raise the bid, and March 1st found us the owners of land in this beautiful snow bowl. In the meantime, we had heard of a race in early March on Loveland Pass at what was known as the Minor Dump. I hadn't raced since the Pennsylvania State Championships. The thought of our entering downhill and slalom races near Loveland Pass was exciting. Bess Moore had come from Boulder to be with us, so we had a babysitter. Max's beard was quite a novelty at the starting gate. Nobody wore beards then, so there was a lot of kidding. "Here's the man from Mars. What tree have you been living under?" "The original mountain man." The downhill was a disaster for me. I fell hard and sprained my ankle. The next morning I had to be content to just be a spectator. Before the race started, the racers stood around making comments and waxing their skis. One of the racers turned around and pointed into our snow bowl. "Over there is where we're going to have this race next year." Max looked at me, and I looked at him, and he nodded at me. I realized that's where Max bought our mining patents. After the race, we found the racer who had made that remark. His name was Larry Jump. He called his friend Sandy Schaffler to meet us. Sandy had been the starter for the race. Larry explained to us that he and Sandy had been hired by the state to look into possible areas for ski development. Finding out that we owned the only private land in the bowl, which they called Arapahoe Basin, they asked if they could come down the next week and talk with us. We told them, any day but Saturday or Sunday. We're over at Climax on those days. It was early one morning in March, a sunny morning, and we were having a leisurely breakfast in the kitchen. Looking out the window to the west, I said to Max, "Remember when Dimp and Lula told us the story of how Mr. Sherd, who sold this cabin to Bessmore, saw a bear standing out there right under the clothesline? He opened the window and then shot the bear. That was in March. I guess we'd better keep an eye on Sonny and Rolf when they're playing outside." As I was looking out the window and thinking about seeing a bear out there, I saw a car come up the road. Now, we didn't see many cars on Montezuma Road. Usually the only ones were the mailman or Dimp and Lula, who had come roaring up in their red pickup to check on us. But this was a car we'd not seen before, and it slowed down and then turned in at our mailbox. We were all still in our pajamas. While Max rapidly changed into his jeans, I grabbed the children and tore into the bedroom to change. From the bedroom window, I could see 3 men get out of the car and slowly walk to our very unprepossessing cabin. "Why, Max, it's Larry Jump and Sandy Schaffler and another man. Oh, Lord, the kitchen's a mess." Max was already greeting them at the door and inviting them in. By the time I got myself and the children dressed, they were already sitting at the kitchen table. Max had just shoved the dishes to one side and was pouring coffee for the men. The third man was Thor Groswald. My skis are Groswald skis, I exclaimed. Yes, that's my company, he answered. I understand you're Norwegian too. He was so tall, I hurriedly asked him to please sit down again before he hit his head on our low ceiling. I didn't think they'd stay too long, but they talked and talked, and finally it was afternoon. I hadn't been able to clear the table at all, but they didn't seem to mind. I took the children for a walk up the road, apprehensive because there may be a bear ambling along and meeting us. The men were just beginning to leave when we returned, and one of them said, "Well, we have us a corporation." The Arapahoe Basin Corporation was founded that day at our table, loaded with dirty dishes, in the little Alhambra cabin. Spring was coming, and time to start work on our new home to be down the road. We had had much fun skiing each weekend at Climax and meeting that great family, the Gorsages. Jack and Zella had 3 children, David, Bill, and Jackie. Bill was just finishing high school, and Jackie was at Western State in Gunnison. 7-year-old David skied all over the hill with a wide snowplow, much to the admiration of our 3 and 4-year-olds. Next winter, David really slapped his skis together. It wasn't long before he was one of the top junior racers in the U.S. 14 years later, he was one of the top U.S. racers in the 1960 Winter Olympic Games at Squaw Valley. Jack and Zella were untiring in their work and encouragement at the Climax ski hill. All season they were setting slalom courses, gatekeeping, or standing all day at the finish line in the cold or freezing weather with a stopwatch. They were often helping load the kids on the rope tow or T-bar, or keeping the pot-bellied stove going in the small warming shelter. No wonder so many well-known racers came from that area. We were always welcome to spend Saturday nights at their home so we wouldn't have to drive the 30 miles back to our little cabin. Join us when we start to find out what's going to happen in the spring with the Dercums.